program talking about trends for the next 12 months. My guest is Gerald Celente from Rhinebeck, New York. Gerald is one of today's pioneers in trend strategy. He founded the Trends Research Institute in Kingston, New York, and is the publisher of the TrendsJournal that has been going on since 1980. And he's been one of the nation's most accurate diagnosticians and forecasters. And for the past 5 years, Gerald's come on at the end of every year to look at the next 12 months and see what is likely to be happening. Nice to have you with us today, Gerald.
Thank you for having me, Gary, and it was great being up in Rosendale to be with you on Skype with Poverty Inc. What a great movie. If anyone hasn't seen it, they're missing something that has been put together with so many different aspects of life coming from so many different directions that no one else has done. So I congratulate you for doing that, and I'm honored to be a part of it. It's exceptional, and it's the story of America today. We've gone from the strong middle class to a dollar store society, and you really put it together in a great way and offer solutions as well that we could have a more prosperous future, not prosperous only in terms of money, but in morality. So thank you very much.
I appreciate those kind words. Thank you, Gerald. Gerald, I want to go through a lot of different topics today. If we can, and I have about 20, so if we can keep it succinct, that would be great. Let's start with the idea that we are not using sound economic principles. They're being subverted to favor the wealthy and powerful. Could you give us examples of what that will mean in the next year?
It's very simple. The Federal Reserve has not raised interest rates since 2006. The only thing it's done is propped up the equity markets. In the old days, people could put money in banks, have savings accounts, and get interest that was above the inflation rate. You can't do that anymore. So when you look at the equity markets and who has profited from it, it's from the banks and from the brokerage firms and from the stockholders, stock companies. For example, most of the equity market boom has gone from companies buying back their stock because they could borrow money so cheaply. Number two, we call it bankism, not capitalism. Too big to fail, kill capitalism. Bankism means these major banks are borrowing money at 0.25% and then loaning it to us at usury rates up into, you can make up whatever number you want into the 100%. Number three, private equity groups and hedge funds and venture capitalists are also responsible for building the equity markets. They've done more deals in 2014 than they did it's back down up to 2007 levels. So only the rich are benefiting, and I don't throw that out as just a line. The Pew Research study came out a week and a half ago. It showed that the gap between the rich and the poor in the United States now even surpasses that of the Gilded Age, and 85 people around the world have as much money as $3.25 billion.
Price wars is a big issue. There's more surplus of product than there is demand, and that's going to result in a change in retail marketing.
Again, all things are connected. So when we look at the concentration of wealth in the hands of so few, the other people don't have money to buy so much of what's been produced. And as you mentioned, there's an overproduction and there's overcapacity. So here's what we're looking at. As oil prices now are going down and people want to make it look like it's a conspiracy theory to overthrow Putin and to destabilize Venezuela, it's bigger than that. Some 20% of the junk bonds in the United States, for example, are energy-related. And this is global, by the way, into the trillions of dollars. They're going to take a huge hit. So it's not only oil that's at 5.5-year lows. It's copper, it's iron ore, it's corn, and it's the products you're buying at the store. Again, many of us are old enough to remember that they didn't have sales until after the Christmas holiday, and now it's 70% off before. So there's too much capacity, too much production, and too few people with enough money to buy what's out there. So you're going to start seeing more and more price pressure. But having said that, you're not going to see it show up in your everyday life because, for example, in the food industry, it's owned by a very few. So they could control the prices. The supermarkets are owned by a very few. So you won't feel it as much as you should in terms of paying less at the cashier.
Okay. The demise of mainstream media, and as more people turn to alternative media sources, none of this is reported. Major media, I believe, will be forced to downsize and provide less authentic news and information and more entertainment.
Exactly. They have already. Our CEO, his name is Gerald Celente. He's an icon in the business. He was the editor-in-chief of Gannett News. This is Mr. Inside. And he will tell you, the first to tell you, that he was also running a chain of Rupert Murdoch's Dow Jones papers under that group as well. And he's left, of course, he's with us. There's no feet on the beat. Everything has been consolidated. As you well know, 6 media companies control the entire operation in the United States thanks to the deregulation under Bill Clinton and the Federal Communications Act. So what do we have? What they're doing in the newspaper business, if you live in Seattle or Secaucus and you have a local paper, it's going to look almost identical. It's all being scripted out of a central location. There are no feet on the beat. These are owned by hedge funds, and all they're interested in is the bottom line. The other side of this, it's a great opportunity to bring back the family newspapers and the newspapers for the 21st century. The demand is there, but the money junkies who have bought up all these newspapers, they're only interested in getting as much profit as they can and not producing reporting. So there's an opportunity to rebuild the fourth estate because it's not going to come from the majors. It's Cartoon News Network.
Let me just focus a little more on that. Today, the latest ratings came out, which showed that Fox Television had an increase of 1% to about 1.2 million viewers. That CNN was way down second, and MSNBC had dropped substantially, almost a 22% drop. They had about 440,000. So they're way down. Now, think of that for a moment. We have nearly 320 million people in the United States. Those three together, Fox, CNN, and MSNBC together, only have about 2 million viewers. And they're always looking for a particular demographic. And Fox's average viewer is 72 years of age, and CNN is old. Then again, one of our sister stations, WBAI, is 70 years of age, the average listener. No one is paying attention to what other media are doing. And I think that is very relevant because unbeknownst to all the mainstream media, there's a different universe altogether. You're connected to that, Gerald. We're connected. And I just want to give you some of the figures on that. Let's see if we have Jason in studio now, because he has the latest figures. Now, mind you, we just got these figures this morning. This is for the last 12 months. These are people who are reading articles, and we're posting almost 200 different articles per 24 hours. Videos, documentaries, calls to action, plus the radio programs. Jason's in studio now. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
Good. Just pot up the mic. Jason, give us the latest figures. I think Gerald would be interested in the last 12 months of figures that you have.
Well, just over the last 12 months, we hit on Facebook just under 300 million people. We were at 603,184 people who have shared our post, who have went to our post, who have send them to other friends, who have shared them with around the world. So that's an excellent figure for us. And then also on YouTube, seeing your different movies and documentaries. Again, this is just our one source. We're not going to all the sources because we're not going to go through that. You have over 3 million views of Seeds of Death, War on Health, just this year, Joy of Juicing, all those movies that you put up for free to let people see. So that's an amazing statistic as well. And then just coming to podcasts, just our podcast for the last year. This is just 1 year. Again, how many people have downloaded our different podcasts? We've had over 4,991,733 different people download a podcast this year from one of our many great shows. And we have 85 of them. So that's a great, great accomplishment.
So There you have it. Nearly over $250 million, nearly 300 million. And you don't hear a word about that. And what is that? And this is what's really remarkable. Jason, what is the average age?
35 to 44 college-educated women who just want to know about to help their families and make a better world.
That's right. These are the people who are sharing. They're in the demonstrations. They're the ones who are belonging to movements. They're the ones who are pushing for change. They're the ones engaging in change. They're the largest group becoming vegans. They're the ones who are more interested in closing down nuclear power plants. So unbeknownst to those 72%, 72-year-olds out there, there's a whole legions of young vitalist people making positive changes, and there's not a single word about any of them anywhere. So I thought you'd like to know that. Any thoughts on that, please?
Yeah, that's excellent. It's great, and you really summed it up. The opportunity for positive change is there, and it's starting to happen, and it's starting to build. Look, when you look at trends are born, they grow, they mature, reach old age, and die. Those of us are old enough, we don't even have to be that old, to remember that really this whole Internet revolution only began around 1994, 20 years ago. So we're only in the early growth stages. They are going to become the major media insignificant. The only problem right now with it is that they still have the major voice to sway the general public. Just as you saw, and again, I don't want to go into a lot of time because I know time is short, just as you saw what happened when Obama pulled the dog and pony show trick with the Sony baloney thing about how, North Korea hacked this and our freedom and liberty was at stake and the country bought it. So what I'm saying is the major media still can use the power of the presidency and the public office to direct the general public. And that's what really has to change.
Okay. Now, after I reviewed the different trends for the next 12 months, I observed two different impulses heading in different directions and at odds with each other. So I'd like to have you look at these two trajectories holistically and then explore the outcome of where we might be headed in the year ahead and beyond. On the one hand, there is business as usual among the wealthy, powerful elites who have every intention to continue to steer its current course, more monopolistic mergers, regressive international trade agreements favoring the plutocracies, which further undermine the populist national interest, a corporate media enslaved, as you mentioned, to, I think you said 6 media control 70% of all of the information, and they're going to do more of that to private and government propaganda, promotion, and a banking and financial system that deludes itself in the myth of perpetual growth and progress. And then on the other side of the railroad tracks, from the bottom up, are the progressive movements that are succeeding in increasingly alternative energy sources, younger professionals encouraged by higher ideals to be more creative and generate business models outside the conventional corporate box, and more people awakening the fact that mainstream media is more fluff and completely unreliable in conveying facts. When we look at this scenario, we discover two radically different future trends underway that are diametrically opposed. So my big question is, where do they meet? What is the conflict that will result in the gap between them, and will it be class war? Do you see that we're in enough pain to go to the streets, or is it still we need more pain and more suffering, or an aggressive attempt by the rich and powerful to finance and finance business and government to wipe out innovation and new and creative impulses that go against the grain of the